According to the Illinois State Board, the definition of physical education requires pupils to engage in daily physical education courses during the school day. Courses must be compatible with the optimal growth and developmental needs. Physical educational programs have changed drastically since they have first been introduced to public schools in the United States. Between the mid-1700s and late 1800s, the United States started developing physical education programs that were influenced by Germany, Sweden, and England. Germany influenced the American physical education program by introducing gymnastics training. The Swedish physical education program influenced the American program by introducing systematic movement patterns such as cardio, obstacle courses, etc. Hygiene and development of the human body were also stressed within these programs. England brought sports and games into the American physical education program and emphasized moral development while participating in activities. Cincinnati, Ohio was the first school system to offer any type of physical education program to children in the year 1855. California was the first state in the year 1866 to pass legislation entailing that students must participate in physical education classes twice per day. The initial influences from Germany, Sweden, and England shifted when the United States entered World War II. There was more of an emphasis in games and sports until the U.S. entered World War II. PE classes then had an emphasis on physical conditioning. In 1915, ISBE and the Illinois Association for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance passed a law to require at least an hour of physical activity a week in schools. This eventually led to a law being passed in 1957 requiring daily PE in all schools. In the late 19th century, there was more of a focus in academic coursework as opposed to physical education. During this time, the United States faced a recession causing government funding to be limited, which led to physical education programs being the first cut. This epidemic is something that is still affecting schools today. State boards of education are working towards resolving this issue. The Illinois State Board of Education has a physical education task force that mandates the Illinois School Code. This provides recommendations on current and future mandates and standards. The current physical education standards in America are competency in motor skills and movement patterns, understanding of movement concepts, participates regularly in physical activity, achieves and maintains health-related fitness, responsible behavior in physical activity settings, and values physical activity. Elementary students should be meeting all of these standards for a minimum of 30 minutes per day, according to USA Today. Unfortunately, students are only receiving 16 minutes of physical activity a day, instead of meeting the required 30 minutes each day. Illinois is one of 6 states that requires physical education in every grade. ISBE has said Illinois was the first state in the nation to require daily physical education for all students. Today, schools have been struggling to accommodate to these mandates.
Schools have been able to reduce the 5 days per week to every other day of physical education for a range of excuses, from inadequate facilities to low test scores. Districts in Illinois have begun to seek out waivers that exempt certain students as well as entire districts from the daily physical education requirement. Some of these waivers include exemptions for school athletes, students with special needs, and students in extracurriculars such as marching band. The daily PE waiver is one of the most sought-after waivers, with 859 waivers granted in Illinois over a 20-year period. About 2,000 schools reported that they had complied with the daily physical education mandate, meaning that the remaining 1,300 Illinois schools were not providing daily PE classes. According to Rado, this is because lawmakers simply allow it or look the other way. According to the task force's spokeswoman, Lane Evans, the agency is working on collecting information such as waivers and holding school districts accountable to submit their information. When a school wants to attain a waiver, they are required to hold a public hearing. According to district spokesman Tom Hernandez, rare is a time when parents have come to speak about that fewer days for PE. More often, parents want more time for AP classes and more time for band. It all costs money. Schools are spending money that they do not have in the room for budget. With this being said, a lot of schools feel that there are more benefits of PE classes are being cut. Standardized test scores in core subjects have become a huge burden on students and teachers. Some faculty members feel that time spent in PE is a waste of time, therefore money should be spent in other purposes. Many states have increased the time length of gym classes. However, a study done by Cornell stated that adding 200 more minutes of time to gym class each week did not provide any notable changes. Due to these results, PE classes are being cut for time and money purposes. Students are able to spend more time in their core classes. Recognizing some of the school's stances on cuts of PE classes, there is notable research providing evidence that PE classes psychologically and physically benefit students, which further leads to academic success. Furthermore, supporters argue that public schools have a responsibility to encourage children to enjoy a healthy and active lifestyle, especially as the rising number of young Americans are obese. Activities that promote muscular strength, cardiovascular endurance, and flexibility, they argue, can help reverse the trend of American children gaining weight. Elizabeth Spetzler is pushing for future physical educators to advocate for the learning benefits that children receive from physical education. Reformists want everyone to understand that there is more to physical education class other than the basic physical activity. She says the psychological benefits of exercise, including improved self-esteem, better behavior, and decreased instances of depression and stress. With all this research being found, this is how the Illinois State Board of Education Task Force on Physical Education has recommended improvements on mandates previously put in by ISBE. The task force is working rigorously to make recommendations for the mandates put in place. One of the recommendations they have introduced is to allow districts the flexibility to meet the daily education requirements through a combination of in-school activity and student participation in comparable verified physical activity outside of the school day. The National Association for Sports and Physical Education states that the purpose of physical education classes is to help children develop fine and gross motor skills, learn cooperation and teamwork, reduce stress, and improve self-confidence and self-esteem. Many supporters of daily physical education believe that public schools are also responsible to educate their students on how to live a healthy lifestyle with the rising number of obese children in America. In physical education classes, students should be in high-energy activities with rigorous physical activity such as tag that would cause students to break a sweat. Classes should avoid activities such as softball that has downtime. After all our research, we have determined that physical education classes provide more benefits to students psychologically, physically, and most important, academically. Therefore, if physical education classes were cut, there would be a decrease in student self-esteem, problem-solving abilities, working memory, better behavior, decreased stress, decreased depression, and improvements in reading and math scores. Knowing this, we believe that physical education classes are crucial to students' success in a general education classroom.